Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
This is episode 455 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abuel-Samad from Telemetry.
And I'm Nicole Wakeland from Test Miles.
And I'm Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And let's see, did anybody travel this week?
I don't think so.
I did. I didn't put it on the show notes, which was stupid. I should have put it on there. I went to, actually, it was one of the coolest things I ever get to do. I went to the IIHS, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, and I saw them crash test a Mazda CX-5.
Oh,
which
well, let's
was
come back.
Really
let's
cool.
come back to that later.
So that's what I did. So that's where I was this week.
Kablamo.
All right.
Kablamo. Boom.
Kablamo.
That's loud when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Nicole, what did you drive to that event?
No, it was in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
I flew to it.
What did you drive while you were at home?
While I was at home, I drove the 2026 Subaru Outback Wilderness, which has been a fun little car to have this week. So this is the 7th gen, so it's all new. It's all redesigned. They have new interior stuff, new upgrades like the 12.1-inch touchscreen and a 12.3-inch instrument cluster. There's more cargo room. The Wilderness trim is it's on the higher end. It's $44,995 as far as lineup goes, but that makes it a little bit more. Wilderness is supposed to be a little bit more wildernessy, off-roady than the rest of the Subaru lineup. Is a little bit, but it's still not like you're going to go do the Rubicon. It's just a little bit more rugged for you. There's a 2.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder in there. You get 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. A CVT with the worst auto stop that I have encountered in ages. Like when it would start and stop, most of them now have gotten better, right? So sometimes you notice them. If you happen to put your foot on the gas right at the moment where it's starting to turn off, you still will get that little almost kind of jolt. This one was not good. Russ thought I was doing something. He's like, "Why did you hit the gas that way?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything. The car just turned back on and the whole car went like it was bizarre how rough the auto start stop was. It was disconcerting. So that was not great. Otherwise, it was fine to drive. It's got plenty of power. It's relatively well-mannered. I mean, this is a Subaru. It isn't all about like performance driving and great handling. It's about getting you through the muck, holding stuff in the back of the car, being durable, handling day-to-day life with messiness. And this will do that. You've got room for 5. You've got 34.6 cubic feet of room behind the rear seats and 80.5 when you fold them down. So that is an incredible amount of room when you think about it. This isn't a huge vehicle. So if you need to carry stuff like you're doing the weekend projects, this is a great vehicle for that. Although right now, we got down to almost freezing last night. Can I just complain for a second? It was 34 degrees this morning. I woke up, I'm like, why am I so cold? And Russ, because the house is set to air conditioning and it's not, the heat won't kick on. I'm like, well, do something about that. You're the husband, make the heat kick on. And he did. It was so cold here right now. I don't know what's happening. Tomorrow's June 1st and it feels like March. But it's great for like projects, anything you want to put in there. But even that 34 cubic feet behind the rear seats, Subaru really does a great job of giving you a versatile vehicle. So it's plenty of room for adults to sit in the back, but plenty of room for stuff even with those adults. So if you want to you've got kids and you've got all their stuff that you want to put in there, or your family going away for a weekend, there's plenty of room to put everything you need in there. If you're camping, that kind of stuff. And I do really love that Subaru interiors do not make you cringe when they're muddy or messy or things are gross, because it was pouring rain yesterday and freezing cold, and I walked through some muddy streets and mucky streets in Boston, and I got back in, and there's these nice all-weather floor mats, and the water's coming in the car, and when I open the door, because it's dumping rain, I close the door, and it's just, you don't even know that it rains. You don't even know I was in there with muddy boots. Like, everything just looks fine. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this.
It's like when you've been out in the wilderness.
When you've been out in the wilderness,
Dun, dun, dun.
when you have, when it rains or it snows and the water gets on the door panel, and then you look at it hours later and you see little dots, like it's sort of almost like you have to rub it a little bit to hide where the water has sort of left a little bit of a mark on the door panel this doesn't do that. And it was pouring. It was absolutely dumping when I opened the door. I'm like, oh my God, get me in. It broke my
completely
umbrella.
Aquaphobic?
It was aquaphobic. It broke the rain broke my cute little Irish umbrella, but it did not in any way harm the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So there you go. My poor umbrella, though, turned inside out, and it's done. So I like it. The infotainment system is good. It's got that 12.1-inch screen, which is new, so it's bigger. It looks more modern. I really like how it looks. The old setup felt just clunky. It worked, but it felt clunky. I feel like this is not clunky. It's nice. I think it's nice that they did it. And there's a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, which again gives it that a little bit more tech forward kind of vibe. The only thing here's a little quirky thing. So the charging pad for the wireless for Qi is right and like sort of under the screen in front of where your cup holders are, all the way forward. And it's a little pod, and it's just big enough for my iPhone. What do I have? 17, my iPhone. And like I could toss the car key next to it. There's not a good spot to put your stuff, though. If you want to put your wallet in there, like there's no spot to put your wallet or your keys, or if you have other random stuff in your pocket. So I felt like the stuff, where to throw things, was awkward somehow. We also had something we had to return to Home Depot. We bought the wrong garage door opener fob, and we had to bring that back. And we're like, where do we put this as we're driving around? So there's not a good spot to put little things. I felt like, you can open the center console and shove some stuff in there, but I wanted this better spot to just toss my stuff when I walked in the car. So overall, I liked it. Again, 260 horsepower. It's a decent sized vehicle. It's not super responsive, but it's also not slow. It was fine navigating through Boston traffic, weaving in and out of people as you do in Boston to get where you need to get to. Had plenty of power to do that, but it's not about sportiness. It's not about that. It's about the versatility and the utility of having a Subaru. And of course, you've got that all-wheel drive. So when the weather is crummy like it was yesterday, or the snow comes back, which it feels like it could today, you're going to be all set. So overall, I liked it. And you guys want to take a guess at destination, what I have? We'll see what it is by the time this publishes.
In like 3 hours.
Right?
1,100.
Sam?
I'm going to say 14.
Oh, Sam, you were really close. 1,450.
Oh, okay. So, how do you feel about the design of this new Outback?
So this is one of those things that I think loyal Subaru fans just raised their fist and said, no, why did you do this to my Outback?
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, Subaru people don't care about the way a car looks.
Well, I think some of them,
Yeah.
I heard. Well,
If you look back at, beyond the last generation or two of Subarus,
yes.
Subarus were traditionally, shall we say, unconventional looking.
Unconventional looking. Well, so the thing about this is it looks more SUV-ish and less wagon-ish than it did once upon a time. There are people who are all about their wagon. They loved that their Subaru was kind of a wagon. And some of those Subaru people, because I live in Subaru land in New England, it is the official, unofficial car of New England. And some people are a little upset that it doesn't look like it used to. Nobody hates how it looks. They're all fine. They're just like, man, where'd my wagon go? That's
it's
kind of
an
the
SUV
vibe.
now.
Right. Now it's an SUV.
That's called the Trail Seeker now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they're a little sad that their Outback Wilderness wagon, not really a wagon, is now definitely an Outback Wilderness SUV. But nobody hates on it. They're just like, oh, I miss having the wagon because I was different. I was unique. I had a wagon. Nobody has a wagon. I had a wagon. So, yeah. But I'm fine with it. I think it looks good. I like the design. So I'm fine with them de-wagoning it.
There's at least two of them in my neighborhood now, the new ones. And I see them fairly regularly when I'm out walking the dogs. And I don't know, this look, it just looks a little cluttered and busy.
You don't like it? You're
I mean,
anti-new.
it looks very classic Subaru, and in that unconventional way. I wouldn't call it a pretty design or an attractive design,
No.
but it's certainly functional.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think, like you said, though, no one's really looking for a Subaru. Like, oh, I want a really beautiful car. I'm gonna buy myself a Subaru. I don't think most
One
people
of
do.
one of my neighbors that has this gorgeous husky.
Mm.
He's got an older Outback, probably about 15 years old or so. So a couple generations back, and he was asking me about this new one, and he really likes it. So I think you're right, Robbie. I think Subaru. Well, no, actually, you said Subaru people were saying, what did you do to my Subaru or to my Outback? But he's an Outback owner, and he likes it. So who knows?
Subaru people love their Subaru. They just, I have a Subaru. It's my second Subaru. I mean, I have the VRZ, so it's the least Subaru.
At least it it functions like a Subaru. It does what you expect a Subaru Outback to do.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And that's the most important thing to a Subaru person. It's gotta be Subaru in its performance, and if it does that, then they're happy.
Will it withstand the dogs, without falling apart?
Exactly. Will it withstand the dogs? And I think it will. So, yes.
Okay. All right. So it's 2026 Outback Wilderness.
Outback Wilderness with its little bronzy
when we drove
trim.
it, that thing, it handles way better than it should.
It does. It does handle. I mean,
adaptive.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
I was very impressed at how well it handled when we drove it around the mountains, or not really mountains, the foothills of California when we did the drive program.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it looks like it should feel really clunky to drive. Like it should be wobbling all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like anything that would have any kind of decent driving dynamics. But
no, it handles nicely. It was great, and we have through all of our crummy roads and everything we had, it handles nicely.
All right, Robbie, you had something this week.
I did.
For a change.
Oh, come on.
Robbie had a car. What?
I know. I had the 2026 Mercedes-Benz EQS 400 4MATIC SUV. So the EQS SUV, because the EQS, then there's the EQS SUV.
Okay.
That's it.
It's not even remotely confusing.
Not at all.
It's an odd. Sure, why not? So it has 355 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque. I just realized that I haven't done the math on how well the drive, how on its range yet. I did the 100-mile run yesterday, but it is like driving. It's like you're in a cocoon when you're driving this vehicle. Like you're just in there. You're safe. Everything's very smooth. It is erasing the ills of the world from your driving experience.
Wow.
That's what it feels like driving this vehicle.
That's got to be pretty isolating because we got some ills.
Yeah. So, it's comfortable to drive. It has the rear wheel steering that's 10 degrees. And so, I went to the stores a couple times. I had to buy a bunch of animal food and people food and other reasons to go to stores. I can't remember what they were. And that 10-degree rear axle steering is really cool. It's great. Just whoop right into the parking spot that you wouldn't be able to in a similarly sized car without that. You'd be like, oh, hold on. Now you got to do that little thing in the parking lot where it's slightly embarrassing, where you couldn't get like perfectly within the lines. You're a little bit too close to one. You're like, oh, so you got to back up, go forward, back up, go forward. And I always feel sort of like, I do this for a living and I've screwed this up. I don't know how. So yeah. So no, I think it's for people who want something like this. It's big and squishy and comfortable. It's got the hyper screen, not the super screen that's in the new S class. I think the hyper screen's better than the super screen. You get more real estate. It's MBUX, which I think I'm a fan of MBUX because it's just a big map and then little widgets of things you need. That's it. That's all people want.
Mm-hmm.
They just want, where am I going? Okay, I got to push on things. I don't want to have to swipe, let me swipe left and right. No, the little widgets figure out like how you drive, what you use, and they appear as you're driving. The end. Ta-da. It's yeah. I don't know why it seems so difficult for everyone to figure that out, but there you go. Now the new EQS, the sedan, and those will be, and all the new Mercedes-Benz CLA, GLC, those are on 800-volt architectures. This is still on the 400-volt architecture, so it charges at 200 kilowatts, which for 400 volts, that's good, fine, whatever. It's AC charging. You're charging at home or charging at a slow charger, an AC charger at 9.6 kilowatts. It has the adjustable regen on the paddles, and their extreme regen is just extreme as all hell. Normal regen's fine though. Handles really well for how big it is. That all-wheel steering probably helps. But it still feels just like you're kind of doing something that someone else that it almost feels like video game-esque, because again you're detached, and you could feel like a little, it's a little dynamic, and it handles really well. We have all the mountain roads up here, but it's still, it handles well, but you still feel it's very much built for the person who's like, I just want to be comfortable in all driving situations. Every single one of them. So, and bumps and stuff, it handles those really well. Yeah, it's comfortable. All the seats are really comfy. It has massage seats, vented seats. It's a big, giant, heavy Mercedes. The battery is, I believe, 116 kilowatts. Let me double check that. No, it's 118. It has 312 miles of range. If I can do the math really quick. Hold on, I gotta look at my notebook.
I'm not doing math. Feel free. I'm not mathing.
You're not gonna do math?
It's a Sunday morning. I'm not mathing.
312 miles of range, 116 kilowatt hours. That's about 2.9-ish miles per kilowatt hour. So Robbie does math.
Yeah,
2. Oh my goodness!
I got about 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour.
A little off. I was a little optimistic there.
Yeah, so I got better range than I got 318 miles of range on my versus the 312, which EPA says. So it's pretty spot on for range. It's the new vehicles are more efficient. You're gonna the GLC, I think it's still that bulbous EQS design though. So that's you got to figure that out. I've talked to multiple people at Mercedes. And the idea was, there's an article on Wired coming out, an interview with Ola, eventually, hopefully this week. But one of the key takeaways was that, their idea was, well, we want to make something for people who, the first adopters. That was the idea for this. We thought that people wanted something that looked different, that looked like an EV, and post that, they're like, oh, people just want a car that looks like a car that's also an EV. The end. That's and so now you get you got the CLA, which is a great little EV, the GLC, which I've only driven on sand, but it worked really well. It's on a sand dune. So I think we as an automaker that continues to push forward with EVs, they're taking what they've learned and they're applying it versus just throwing their hands up and giving up.
So maybe that's Ferrari's excuse for the Luce.
Maybe. I don't hate the Luce. I just think like I said last week, it's a really rad Honda EV.
Yeah.
It's a rad Honda. It's a rad
Honda. So the suggested retail price for this vehicle is $90,000, $89,950. The one I got, $105,330. And that includes this the exclusive trim, $3,000. Okay, I don't know what.
You confused.
But the rear axle steering was, hold on, it's hard to, things aren't lining up.
Oh no, are you?
I think it's $1,300. Which, to be honest, I mean, if you're already spending that much, you might as well just get the rear axle steering. $1,300.
Yeah, you guys should probably just be standard on that car.
Well, they have rear axle steering. It's like 4.5 degrees.
Oh, okay.
That's the standard. But if you really want to go for it to 10 degrees, you just want to
okay. So it's sort of an enhanced rear axle steering.
I'm sorry. So you get 4.5 degrees of rear axle steering. So you get that for free. Well, free because you're paying a lot of money for a car. But if you really want to, you know what? I want to park in every parking space. I want to be able to do circles like a smart car, but in a giant SUV. You're gonna have to shell out $1,300. Do you want to destination delivery? What are you guys thinking?
I'm gonna go $26.95.
I'm gonna go $11.95.
Well, it is Mercedes. They're already it already costs a lot of money, so they don't have to add all this crazy stuff. So it was $12.50.
Wow, what a bargain!
Yeah, it's a bargain. So $12.50. So that's again, you're already paying a lot of money. So they're like, we don't need it. We don't need to pad destination and delivery.
Mercedes customers expect to be paying too much money for their cars already. So
yeah,
you don't need to hide the price increases.
Yeah, so, some automakers hide it. Some they put it in there, but they're very upfront about it. And Mercedes is like, it shouldn't cost that much to ship a car. We're going to charge you for absolutely everything else. Like the white paint, it's manufacturer, so which is their
special stuff.
Yeah. $17.50. It's white paint.
Look at it. I love it, Robbie. You're like, it's white paint. It's just white paint.
I don't like.
Is it like an Arctic white or a Wimbledon
moonlight white metallic? It's white. I don't know. It's white. Like whenever you get a white car, it's always a little more difficult because you try to take photos. You have to, you can't do anything in the middle of the day because it just blasts. It's just a giant. It's just a giant
completely
spotlight.
Blasted out. Yep.
And how metallic can a white paint even be?
I mean, I could probably be pretty metallic. Just make it. It's a disco ball if you really want to go for it. Yeah. So, but overall, you're still getting that real fancy, comfortable Mercedes feeling. It does feel heavy. 118 kilowatt hour battery pack will do that. But it handles really well, even though you sort of feel disconnected from everything that's happening, because that's kind of its job.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Did you try climbing into the third row?
Oh gosh, no. I don't. There's no point in that unless it's a van. Who cares? Why even have it?
Yeah, well, I know that.
I don't think this one has a third row. I think this one just has the two rows.
Well, it might be optional.
Yeah,
I know when I had an EQS a couple of years ago, when my wife and I were on vacation in California, had an EQS SUV, and it had the third row in there, and it's kind of like the third row of the Highlander. It's there, but not really all that useful.
It's there.
What's the yeah. I don't know why I would want to use that. It's just I think it's a selling point. It's like I think there's a lot of people who get adaptive cruise control and then never use adaptive cruise control. They just never use it. They never turn it on. They never figure out how it works. They just and at least that's helpful. Like the third row is that, but I don't know. I guess it's what it is? It's a spacer in your trunk. You need something you don't want things rolling around, so you put up the third row so the thing will have something that you can shove up against. That's the third row. Because you can't I guess you could put a baby seat back there, but then you got to reach all the way back there to fight with throwing a baby in there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to put baby seats in the third row because inevitably while you're driving somewhere, you have to you or your partner may have to reach back to deal with something with the kid.
Leave the car on.
Yeah.
Baby doesn't want to go anywhere. Baby likes the car. There's vibration. It's got its toys. It doesn't need you. It's got the car. Just leave the baby in the car.
Well, and I have
this
been
is
a
from
long
somebody
time
who gets freaked out if he has to leave his dogs in the car for more than 5 minutes.
Just
But if it's a baby,
leave a child, whatever.
It's been a long time since we had babies, so we didn't have EVs back in those days, but I think kind of the noise and vibration of a of an internal combustion vehicle, generally helped put babies to sleep anyway.
It does.
That's
We used to do that when the kids were young. We'd take them on. When Rose would be a whiny, cranky child, we would put her in the car. We had a little route. Yeah, you have a little drive route. You do the route. By the time you get done, she's fallen asleep. You can carry her inside.
Oh. Now they just fall asleep because it's so comfortable.
Now they just fall asleep because it's comfy. Like, oh, I like this car.
Oh, wow, this is better than the house.
This is okay.
Why do we even live in that giant crap
Why
shack?
have a house? Why?
House is for chumps. All right. Anyway, that's the 2026 EQS 400 4MATIC SUV. There you go.
There you go.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. Well, I was supposed to have had a Mitsubishi Outlander last week, but when it got returned back to, I had to go in the shop for something, so I'll have that in a few weeks. So instead, they got me a Kia EV9 GT line, and basically the EV9, for 2026. The only thing essentially that has changed, except maybe a couple of color combinations, the only thing that has functionally changed from the 2025 model or the 2024 model is the charge port, which is now an NACS J3400 charge port rather than a CCS port. So I think pretty much all of the Hyundai Motor Group vehicles, I'm not sure about the GV70 EV, but everything else pretty much that they're selling now has an NACS port on it. And so that's good. Well, it's good until you go and try and plug in your home J1772 charger and realize, oh, they put a CCS adapter in here, but they didn't put a NACS adapter in here. So I had to go on Amazon and order one. So I could charge the car at home.
Are you sure it wasn't hit somewhere else, like Nicole, where it was like hidden under a chair or something?
I looked under the seats.
Did you look under the seats?
I did look under the seats. Looked everywhere. Looked in all the nooks and crannies. Could not find it. Found the CCS one, but could not find a J1772 adapter. But it's okay because I probably worthwhile to have one around.
I know
anyway.
That's what I figured when I bought it. I'm like, I should probably have one of these.
Yeah, sooner or later I'm going to need it anyway. Although maybe not for long because I'm getting another charger sent to me to evaluate, which will have a NACS port on it. So then I'll need a NACS to CC or NACS to 1772 adapter. Anyway, the EV9 3-row electric crossover. I've been a fan of this thing since it came out. I like the design. It's kind of a it was the first of a new design language for Kia. a little more angular, some crisp, sharply folded lines on the body. It's a unique design. It looks pretty distinctly different from a Hyundai Ioniq 9, which shares most of its underpinnings. Overall, I'm a fan of this car. If you happen to get one with rear-wheel drive, you get actually a surprisingly decent, like 3.5 cubic foot frunk. If you get the all-wheel drive version, because it's now got a motor in the front axle, that shrinks by about half to about 1.8 cubic feet, which is, it's enough to store your, charging cables and, some other knickknacks in there. You're probably not going to fit. You could fit probably a laptop bag, but
you could put a personal pan pizza in your.
But not a large.
You could probably actually take a couple of personal pan pizzas.
Like you go to Little Caesars, get two larges, throw them in there.
Pizza. That might fit.
All right.
You wouldn't be able to get the big giant ones that they have at this local place here, Benito's Pizzas. That are like, I don't know, 36 inches or something insane. So you can fit some smaller stuff in the front. The third row, I did climb into the third row. It is usable by a 5'10" adult. This one, the one that I had, the GT line, had the second row captain's chairs with the ottomans that can come up. So it's got the ottomans on the front seats. Obviously, you can't deploy the one on the driver's seat while you're driving. You certainly shouldn't anyway. I don't think you actually. If you try to activate it or move it while the car is in drive, it will not move, which is good. I mean, the ottoman won't move, not the car. The only kind of annoyance that we rediscovered with this thing is it's got the standard dual 12.3 inch displays under a single sheet of glass, and then there's also the smaller, I think it's about a 5-inch display in the middle for some of the climate control stuff. So you got the instrument cluster in front of you, infotainment on the right, and then the small control touch panel to control some of the which if you want air blowing up or at your feet or wherever, some of the climate control stuff in there. It's as usual. It's still blocked by the steering wheel. So I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they did that one.
It's so weird. I remember we were in Korea and we were on the drive program. Like, why?
Why did we do this?
And they've put that into a couple of other vehicles since then. Like the K4 has that.
They already committed to hiding it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the temperature control is in the center dash. So
yeah,
the
so
thing you actually use a lot is there, but everything else is weird spot. You have to move your head to look around your steering.
Yeah, you get physical toggles.
Totally ideal
on the center stack for temperature. The dual zone temperature control, the fan speed, and then there's the little roller for the volume control. But just above that, there are some touch controls that are backlit. From behind the whatever type of trim you have on, depending on which trim level you've got in the vehicle, that get are shortcuts to maps and settings and a couple of other things. And then you've got the touchscreen above that. And the thing is, most of the time, most people when they're using a touchscreen, they may use like their pinky or something to brace their hand so it's not moving around while you're driving. And those touch controls are right where your fingers would usually fall if you're bracing your hand on there. And so when my wife and I were going out somewhere last week, she was going to just hit pause on something we were listening to comment on it. And she kept hitting the settings button and sending it from the Android Auto screen to settings, which, kind of annoying. Bad place to put those.
Yeah.
But other than that, the GT line, it's there's two battery sizes you can get in the EV9. There's the smaller one in the base, light all-wheel drive trim, which is I think about 67 or 76 kilowatt hours, 76.1 kilowatt hours, and then there's the big battery, which is the one you should get if you're getting one of these things, 99.8 kilowatt hours. on the and you get when you get all-wheel drive, which is standard on the GT line, you get 379 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough. You will not be wanting for performance in this thing. With the GT line, because it's a little bit heavier, bigger wheels, it's rated at 280 miles per charge driving range. I actually, I did, in the driving I did with it, I was actually averaging about 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which actually works out to closer to about 300 miles. And on a couple of drives, some local drives, when I had to go to Lowe's to get some more lumber to finally finish my deck, I averaged 3.1, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. This thing is very spacious. So with the second and third row seats folded down and the front passenger seat slid forward, you can fit a stack of 2x10 by 8 foot deck boards in there. They will fit inside
Proof.
with the tailgate closed.
You have the proof.
I did it. I had 6 of those boards in there, and it all fit with everything closed. So it is a very useful, very utilitarian vehicle. And you'll get generally somewhere between 280 and 300 miles depending on how you drive. I mean, if you're really using all that performance, you might get less than that. But overall, it's more than enough for pretty much everybody's daily needs. And these things charge fast. The EV9, the Ioniq 9, they'll charge about 215, 220 kilowatts. So slightly slower than what you get with the smaller ones like the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, but still very quick. And as with all the Hyundai Group vehicles, they've got good thermal management on the battery, so they'll maintain a high rate of charge all the way, high power charging, pretty much all the way to about 70% state of charge. So, I have charged an EV9 in the past, even at 70%, I was still getting like 130, 140 kilowatts. So that's, that makes it a really good road trip vehicle, which will be useful next week when we're doing Operation Frodo.
That's right.
Yeah. So, because we will have an EV9 as part of our fleet. Robbie, your lights just went out.
Oh,
wait,
Robbie?
what?
Did we lose Robbie altogether?
No,
Or
I'm
maybe
still
it's just
here.
your video.
Oh, maybe it's just
I
your
don't know.
camera because you're frozen.
Now I'm back. I don't know. I don't know what that
You
Okay.
look like you were in the dark. I don't know what
It
happened
looked
there.
like your, like a motion sensor
Whoosh.
light turned off or
I
something.
don't know. They updated Riverside. I feel like it's broken now.
Oh,
You're having
yeah.
Riverside issues.
Every time
So-
anyone upgrades anything anymore, it's always broken for like
It's
about
always
6 months.
broken.
So like, hey, we
Mhm.
updated. We added AI, and now it's broken.
Like,
I'm like,
don't,
thanks.
please, no.
That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted the one thing this tool's supposed to do. It can't do anymore because you added a feature that I didn't ask for. Cool.
So the EV9s start at $55,000 for the light rear wheel drive. That's with the standard range battery. Long range battery, which is that should be your starting point, is $58,000 for the light trim and rear wheel drive. The GT line that I had starts at $71,900. All in, the one I had in the driveway came to $76,670. Not inexpensive, but I mean, you can get some pretty good deals on these things. If you shop around, there's, dealers are offering some pretty good rebates and incentives on these things. So you can get it for probably, at least $5,000 to $6,000 less than that. And, it's really nicely equipped for that price point. You want to guess at the destination charge?
1,600.
$1,400.
Nicole gets it by like $5.
Woo!
It's
Oh,
$14.95.
good job.
I'll take the win. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yay.
And the EV9s are built in West Point, Georgia. So,
Georgia.
so that is the 2026 Kia EV9 GT line.
Okay.
All right, let's carry on.
Carry on.
So
Next.
GM opened a new advanced design studio in Pasadena, California this past week. They had a studio previously, which I can't remember exactly. Was it in Irvine?
Long Beach, maybe?
Where?
I don't
Long
remember.
Beach.
Yeah, somewhere in the Southern California area. They've had an advanced design studio there for a long time.
Somewhere around there.
But they opened a new studio this past week, and I guess they had some people out there, and they showed off two concepts for a GMC. They called the GMC Hummer X, a pickup truck version and an SUV version. So kind of like what they have right now with the Hummer EV, but these are a little bit smaller. But they're still very large vehicles.
Are they? I was trying to find measurements on here. I'm scrolling, but then I'd have to compare it. Is it actually that much smaller? It looks smaller.
Yeah, it's about 7 inches shorter.
Okay.
The probably the more important thing is not so much the length, but the width. It is like 7 inches narrower.
Maybe I did see this vehicle like 100 years ago.
I mean, that would be because I like the Hummer, but that was the only vehicle that I got through in a drive-through on the drive program, and and then there was a wall as I came around through the drive-through, and I had a moment of panic, like, oh God, I thought I'd have some overhang room over the curb, and I don't. Please, Lord Almighty, don't let me take out the wall. And I think I had like you put a piece of paper between the bumper of the old one and the wall as I came around that corner to get my coffee. So I'm glad it's a little smaller. It was a little big. It's a little large.
The current production Hummer is 86.7 inches wide, which is why it has to have the amber lights on the top of the windshield, because anything over 85 inches, you have to have those amber lights on the top of the windshield.
I love it.
And this thing is almost just shy of 87. So the Hummer X is a mere 80 inches wide.
Only 80 inches.
Yeah.
Only 80 inches. Okay.
Which is still about 5 inches wider than a Ford Bronco Raptor, which is already a very wide vehicle.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I mean, yes, it's smaller, but why could it be smaller?
Smaller or more smaller?
Because at some point, you run into issue. I mean, especially when you're like, oh, the photos are of this thing, outdoors, in the desert. Sometimes trails are pretty narrow, and you have a super wide car.
It doesn't work out so well.
This is why going off-roading with something like, say, a Raptor, an F-150 Raptor, or a TRX is generally not. It's fine in the desert, but it's not a vehicle you want to take on a trail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always like
it's hard to maneuver.
Desert dirt roads, like roads to the houses of people who don't recognize the U.S. government, like those types of roads.
Who don't recognize the U.S.
Who consider
government.
themselves sovereign
these
citizens.
are the people, when you stop them, they're like, I'm a sovereign citizen.
I was just trying to think of the word sovereign citizen. That's the word I was trying to come up with.
Yeah. It's the roads to the homes of, it's, fine.
So people who refuse to recognize the U.S. government exists.
Yeah, I don't recognize the laws of this government. I am
The laws of the land mean
I am an
nothing.
island of a human in my world. The national anthem is written by Maroon 5 or something. I don't
know. The Hummer X also has a lot of screen in it.
Yeah, I don't know this. I don't like this at all. What is happening?
It's
like the layer of a supervillain.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different windows on this full width screen all the way across the dashboard.
It's like you're watching, like, if you're a security guard or a supervillain. Either way, you're watching,
I think a supervillain. I think
from everyone's like toilet in their apartment.
I definitely think it's supervillain because you would need that many screens, and you would drive something like a Hummer because you could run over your enemies.
Yeah.
So I feel like definitely supervillain.
Until they drive down like a narrow alley and they're like, foiled again.
And then you're stuck. Why does it look like that? It's just
I don't know.
7 stackable displays.
Instead of one long screen, it's just a bunch of little screens.
I've been watching the show Homeland, and it does give off CIA vibes, not gonna lie.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
these are like especially these they're like, okay, this is where we're gonna bomb a
Right.
wedding.
The
This is
the
where we're
far
gonna
right
like
is telling us where our team is. Then you have a
yeah.
map that's close up. Then you have a map of the full
You
area.
got you got your live views from the drones or from the
Right. You got your
satellites.
Yeah.
live drone view in there. You've got one that's just chatter and heat sensors so you can see where your team is. Yeah.
And
Nope.
there's no
This is too much.
buttons.
This is
It's
too
like,
much.
yeah, they designed this before they realized people hate the fact that vehicles don't have buttons. So I went to the design studio in Detroit. Sure, I think it was Detroit. And they showed me like a little tiny little sliver of something. And I guess it was this. I thought it was smaller. Or maybe
I
they
mean,
have a smaller version in a design studio
hopefully
somewhere.
they have something smaller in the works as well.
Yeah. I mean, just give us a Toyota Tacoma-sized something.
Yeah.
You can still call it a Hummer. There's no one's going to hurt.
I've said
It's not gonna
before,
hurt anybody's feelings.
back in 2009, they had a concept called the Hummer HX. So this was when the original iteration of Hummer before Hummer went away. Before GM went through bankruptcy. Actually, it was probably like 2008. Actually, they had the Hummer HX concept, which was a Wrangler-sized vehicle, and that's I think that's the vehicle that when GM launched their EVs, that's what they should have built, was an electric version of that.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot
would've been
cooler.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2008 was a bad time to launch anything. The financial
Yeah.
crisis, and like we're gonna build a Hummer. Ah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, because remember the
No, we're just
H3? I
gonna
remember they
kill
had the
Hummer
ad for the
instead.
H3 where they were talking about how it was smaller. Like they had
Yeah.
a short dude who was like, I don't remember. It was sort of a weird ad, but it was smaller than the H2, and definitely smaller than the original Hummer, which was the size of a one-bedroom apartment.
One
Let's see.
bedroom, two.
Maybe two, yeah.
Bedroom and a half.
Well, it was one bedroom, but it had a walk-in closet.
There you go.
And the closet was bigger than the bedroom.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they keep all your hats.
So let's see. I'm looking at the specs for the Hummer H3, the 2009 Hummer H3. It was 187.5 inches long, and this one
188.
is
It's a
188.
scooch bigger.
So yeah, it's
Wow.
actually pretty close to the
Oh
same
my
size as the
gosh.
H3.
Come
So I guess
on.
it is
It's like
actually quite a bit smaller.
Maybe the Hummer is whenever they make the Hummer smaller, it's like doom is coming. It's like a prophet. It's the prophecy
So
has been
everything's gonna collapse.
yeah, everything's gonna collapse whenever Hummer decides. Maybe we shouldn't Hummer make a bigger car. Maybe we should ask that. Like, hey, we don't want things collapsing. Yeah.
So another interesting thing that they didn't get into a lot of detail on here. This new design studio, they've got capability to do all kinds of, basically do all the fabrication and the design work and everything. So, they can do clay models and build, fiberglass models and everything else. But something they mentioned in the press release here is about what they call flex fab. So flexible manufacturing technology that they say enables fast, small batch, on-demand production, similar to 3D printing, but for metal. No specialized stamping tools, multiple designs with the same machines. They don't really get into any detail about what exactly that is or how they're doing that.
Is it additive printing? Is it additive manufacturing? It's like 3D, but with metal. I'm like, well, we can 3D print metal now, right?
Yeah.
I'm very confused by it's like 3D printing, but metal. I'm like,
But
just say it's
metal.
additive manufacturing. Or you just 3D
It
printing
says
metal.
similar to 3D printing.
So is it additive or not?
I have no idea.
Well, that's such a weird. It's like 3D printing,
Yeah.
but metal. Like what's that even mean?
What does that mean?
It's like a hamburger, but metal. What?
According to the specs, 57% of the Hummer X concepts is made with the flex fab process.
Okay.
So
Robbie's still like, I don't get it.
It's made possible by flexible manufacturing, similar to 3D printing, but for metal.
Stop. You're going to
Multiple
hurt
designs
your,
from
you're
the
gonna
same
hurt your
machines.
head,
It's got to
Robbie.
just be. It's got to be additive manufacturing because if
Of
it's
some
multiple
sort, yeah.
designs, yeah. They just don't want to say 3D printing. I think that maybe they feel like 3D printing is hobbyist type. Like, well, we don't want to think it's people like Robbie who's
We
making
can't print something as tough as a Hummer.
Yeah. Which is especially on the same machine that Robbie prints a bunch of Daft Punk helmets for reasons that are.
It's far more complicated than that.
It's far more complicated than Robbie and his,
Do you make your Daft Punk helmets out of metal though?
I mean, no, but then I paint them and they look metal.
Okay, well that's good enough.
Yeah, it's like 3D printing, but Daft Punk helmets. But metal. Maybe it's like 3D printing, but it only works if you're listening to heavy metal.
Oh, okay. Well,
like if you're not listening to Metallica, it just doesn't work.
So, no production plans right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like this, if they, assuming they continue with Hummer into the future beyond the current generation, I wouldn't be surprised if a next gen Hummer is at least sized more like this and, probably has some of this design to it.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice change. I think it would be better. I don't know if they'll build it, but I think it'd be better.
I see Hummer. I mean, again, I live in Northern California, which we're just silly with EVs, but I see Hummers around.
There's one in my neighborhood around the corner. Somebody's got one. They used to have a Tesla Model Y, and they got rid of that and got a Hummer.
Wow, that's
from a Model Y to jump. Wow, that is a jump.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
A lot of room. Bring all your friends.
Actually, you could probably fit more of your friends in the Model Y than in the Hummer. The Hummer is large, but not very space efficient.
There's so much room for just air. And you can take the top off. It's the only convertible EV you can buy right now.
The only one you can buy in North America.
Well, that's North America. It's the only place that counts.
Because there is the MG Cyberster.
If I can't buy the Honda N cool thing, so if in my brain I have to pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Does not exist.
So, speaking of electric trucks, Slate announced something this week. They announced that they're going to announce the pricing for the Slate truck on June 24th and officially start taking orders at that time.
What do you think the pricing's going to be? They're going to do what they said they're going to do?
Anywhere from $23,000 to $27,500.
What price would the price have to be for you to take your, because you put a reservation out for one, right? Robbie?
So I put the $50 one down.
Yeah.
So that is a refundable. I can get my $50 anytime. On the 24th, you can hold on. Let me find. I have an email.
I think it's a $300 deposit.
It's a $300 non-refundable deposit, which I understand. They're like, okay, you're saying you want us to build this car. No takebacks. It's the $300 is the no takebacks. Because I've already given them $50. I can I can get it. It's $250 for me additional.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put in. Oh, here we go. I found it. Get more info. So it's $300 for a deposit. What that does is that puts you in the queue to order your vehicle. Then you have 30 days to lock in your delivery window, and then later you can personalize it and buy it and whatnot. And that they're saying they're going to start production in late this year, so you might get one in December. Probably January, February.
Probably next year.
If you haven't put the people who put the $50 deposit down, they get first dibs essentially. And I put my $50 deposit down like at the event, like within minutes. I was like, this is ridiculous, and I'm buying this because it feels like the Robbie car.
Yeah,
it feels like the Robbie car.
It is. It's like, oh, you want to do some weird stuff? You've got a 3D
printer. You can print all the stuff you need to add to this.
Yeah, everything is just like, hey, do you like tinkering with things? Do you want a car that just like you want to take the doors off? Sure. You want to take the rear wall out and just have it open air? Go for it. You want to put a roll cage in there? Knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out, buddy.
It is the like goofy nerd modular vehicle. So So it's $300 is non-refundable, and it'll count towards the purchase of your Slate. I think the battery, sorry, the ranges are like 180 and 240. I have to double check that. I'm
I
just
think they
pulling those.
said 150 originally, but
All right,
that may have
150
changed.
and
Yeah.
150. Don't. Yeah, whatever I said was probably a lie. So 150 and like 240, I think, are the battery ranges. We'll know more on June 24th. I will be at Slate on June 24th for this thingy, so I'll have some more information. That'll be on Ars Technica, so keep an eye there, or follow me on Blue Sky, and I'll be posting about it. I'll be posting through it. This is sort of, and again, part of me is very excited about this vehicle, and the other reportery part is like, well, this will all crash and burn, because building a car and building a car company is pretty much impossible. They seem to have found like sort of this weird, and I know people are like, well, no one wants a 2-door vehicle, which, okay, that's fine. You can say that, but
it's more for Robbie.
It's more, but again, like normie, like a lot of people, like people my wife works with, people in bands, normies really are excited about this truck. Does that translate into buying the truck? I don't know. But if they have the excitement that maybe the ID Buzz had, except they're actually delivering it in a timely fashion. So ID Buzz, if they had delivered that vehicle 2-3 years earlier, then you would have been like, oh, I think they would have done a lot better. By the time they deliver it with old technology, we can relitigate the ID Buzz and everything that went wrong with that. But yeah, it's
when I
think
saw.
If they hit 27, I think that's going to be a big deal for them.
When they showed it last year, I think it was in Newport, Rhode Island I was at or something, and they had them there for people to see. They did this sort of like tour thing, to promote it, and they had it at various places where like the public could see and go ooh and ah. And the number of fans that turned out for that was pretty cool. Like people that were just, I ordered one, I want to see it, I'm excited. There was some genuine excitement. So when you're talking about things translating into orders, there definitely is excitement about this, even though it's a 2-door and people don't want it. But so I think a lot's going to hinge on that price though. But they were like fanboys, man. They were so excited to see this vehicle.
So it is. So one of the things is I can't buy this and have the BRZ. I live in the Bay Area. I bought a house. My bills are very high. So I can't have both. So this is something I have to like figure out in the next like 25 days.
Would you have to get rid of your burrs?
So I'd have to get rid of the burrs if I wanted the Slate.
I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know. Do you want the burrs, the Slate more than the burrs?
That's what I have to figure out in the next 25-ish days or so. So yeah, it's a Sophie's choice.
I mean, you can certainly fit a bunch of band stuff in the back of this.
Sophie's choice.
I can put my guitar amp fits in the trunk of the BRZ. I don't know if my new guitar amp fits in it, but and I can stick the guitars in like the passengers. Fit all my band stuff for me.
Yeah.
In the BRZ, like drums and stuff, I can put like percussion. I can put that in the back seat and stuff. So I can get stuff in, and the back seats do go down in the burrs. But at the same time, I'm like, I like I like a manual transmission. I like this car, but this other car is just wacky and weird, and I can do all this weird, wacky stuff with it. And so it's again Sophie's choice. Do I want to continue to have a manual transmission that's just fun no matter what, or do I want a car that I'm just going to tinker with constantly?
So what is the price threshold? What's the maximum that base
where
price
would you say, Robbie?
this?
Like, no doubt about it. I'm keeping the burrs. Forget it. I'm out.
If they're like $29.95, I'm like, no.
Really? That's your
I think it's probably going to be like 27.
You do, and
That's
for 27,
my guess.
You're in. You're like, I will get it at 27.
I will see what sort of weird incentives I can get from California. Okay. I'm sure there's like $1,000 I can get.
There's got to be something.
Might be based on income, incentives, EVs, which unfortunately, fortunately, we're doing fine. Not because of me, because of my wife.
Like he clarifies, this is all my wife's doing, just so everybody
Yeah, I mean,
knows.
you're a journalist. I mean, obviously, it's got to be your wife.
PG&E pre-owned? No, I'm looking. I'll have to look at some stuff.
I'm scrolling through the various combinations they show on the Slate website. As I look through, they've got two different caps that you could put on the back to make it into an SUV. One is a slant back, that looks kind of like a two-door Rivian R3, and then there's a more like a wagon version. It's just the roof just goes straight back to the rear end and then straight down. And this looks like a little, especially with the shape of the front end, this looks like a mini Ford Flex. And I find that very appealing.
I missed the Ford Flex was a great car.
Yeah,
that's the first
on
the sides
that's
of
probably
it.
the first time I did anything with a review car, and it's also the first and only review car I've ever gotten a ticket in. It was a long time ago. See, I like the open air kit. Yeah, where it's just open. If you scroll down, if you
just take out the rear bulkhead.
Yeah, you don't need any of that stuff.
You got to put rear seats in?
Maybe. We'll see. So there's a hole where the seats go because you have to put the seats into something. So I'm curious, can I just open it up and use that as storage? Like what kind of weird, I like the idea
of
just
things that they didn't think of could you possibly do? That's what you're trying to figure out.
Yeah, and that's, and that's sort of the fun thing about it. Like I can get wraps and stuff later. I'm like, I'll probably just use it, keep it gray for a while, because I have to I'll probably just have the regular truck, and then you can upgrade and buy stuff later on, add it to it. That's the other cool thing is I don't have to go in and get all the things that I think I want, and then later on and be like, oh, I should have just got the truck. I can just get the truck and then do wacky things with the truck. And then later on, we're like, you know what? Maybe we should put some seats in the back and make people jump into the back of it like it's a 90s hip hop video, where everyone had a Wrangler and they would just leap into the truck, into the back seat. Yeah, see, that's see, I really feel like they're like, haha, we got you. Like they came to my house, they feel like they watched me for like a few weeks. They're like, yeah, we should build a car for this idiot.
This guy, he needs a car. Let's make him one.
You need to build the first Slate dually.
I know. Yeah, dually with the was it the J.C. Whitney catalog? Whoops! I don't know what I just did. Cancel. I accidentally hit the email into here. I don't know how that happened.
All right.
So so June 24th. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they're going to give me a ride along in the car.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to tell you like, hey, this is what it feels like to sit in the car, which it's not as good as driving, obviously, but you can get a good idea of like how, a pretty good idea how this thing. I mean, I got a ride along in the AMG GT, and I'm still waiting for my video. It seems to have been lost, unfortunately.
The
in-car
really?
stuff. I know, right? That's kind of a bummer. Yeah. I got video from like the back seat, which is completely worthless.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
But so I'll have a ride along. Again, that'll be on ours, and you can look at it, and I'll probably just like skeet about it from Blue Sky.
Okay.
And you can look. I guess I'll also be on Instagram. It's STRNGWYS. Look at me up on both of those, and that's my sort of default go-to name.
All right. So I went out to Las Vegas for a couple of days this week. I was at Ford Pro invited me out there. They were doing their annual Ford Pro fleet preview. So this was mostly for, fleet owners, fleet managers, upfitters, all the people that are customers of Ford Pro, which is their commercial vehicle business unit. And there's not a whole lot to really mention here about that specifically. Although they did say that the new $30,000 electric truck, the Universal EV, is going to be available through Ford Pro starting next year. So, and they're going to be supporting that, and working with upfitters to get equipment. And when I walked around the upfitter pavilion at this event, there were several Mavericks out there, equipped with all kinds of stuff to mount in the bed for the for professionals to use, different racks and caps and different stuff to put on there. So the Maverick is actually quite popular among the professional community.
There's like 3 on my block that have like stickers on them for their business.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a roofing company not far from here. When I drive by there, they have like 8 or 9 of them in their lot there. The various staff use those, to go out and do estimates, and managers use them and things like that. And I've seen them for like auto parts stores, so they're quite commonly used as commercial vehicles. And I think that's also going to be an important market for the Slate as well, as those commercial vehicles where they don't necessarily need that second row of seats. They can just use the bed. But one of the things they also mentioned about the Maverick is that they are increasing capacity for Maverick hybrids. They're raising it to currently, about 56% of all Mavericks sold are hybrids. They're raising that to 80% by the fall, and by 90% availability by the end of the year. Oh. So they will have enough capacity to support 90% hybrid sales in the Maverick by the end of 2026.
That's cool.
Yeah. Also, while I was in Las Vegas, I decided a bunch of people from Ford were going out to see No Doubt at the Sphere. They invited me to go. I said, no, thanks.
I would have
gone. Instead, I went and pulled up the Zoox app on my phone and took another ride in a Zoox Robotaxi.
Oh,
so
okay.
I did this in January during CES.
You could have listened to Don't Speak instead. Don't speak.
Don't speak.
I know
what you're saying. Please stop complaining. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts.
See, we're helping you, Sam. You couldn't make it. You didn't want to go, but we're going to make you.
So we're here for you.
Okay. So I took a ride in the Zoox, and so when I did it in January, there's a couple of issues that I had. One was that there were a very limited number of places you could actually go with the Zoox in January. There was like literally 7 places that you could get picked up and dropped off with the Zoox Robotaxi. With the Luxor Hotel at the south end of the Strip, and the Resorts World at the north end of the Strip, and then a handful of places in between. Now there's almost 20 different locations. So you can go to many of the major hotels now. So you can go to the Fontainebleau, where we were staying with a Zoox, the Resorts World. You can get to the Wynn and the Encore. You can get all the way down to Mandalay Bay and a bunch of other locations along the Strip. They still have relatively few vehicles of their Robotaxis, so the waits tend to be pretty long. When I went in January, I waited almost an hour for a ride. This time it only took about 30 minutes, but what they do now in the app,
an hour.
If there's too much of a backlog, it'll just, instead of, giving you some bogus estimate of how long the wait is going to be, and then continually updating that to a longer and longer period of time, they just say, sorry, we've got too many ride requests right now, try again later. So, it's like, okay, fine. If I need to get somewhere, I'm just going to, grab an Uber or Lyft or a taxi.
I appreciate we're not going to be able to do this. I'm like, okay, cool. Instead of standing around for 30 minutes like a chump.
We'd all rather have that rather than be sitting there. It's like, tell me. If I need to sort out my things here and do this differently, just tell me. I'm not going to be mad. I am going to be mad if it turns out my 5 minutes is 50. So please don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one other issue that I had in January was, on these vehicles, these things, they all look the same. They're all the same color. And on the corners, they have a number on there. And in the app, when your ride is confirmed, it'll tell you, okay, this is the number of your vehicle. Well, the thing is, when you're standing around there at the pickup area, the rideshare pickup area of a hotel, you see all these Zoox vehicles coming in. And so, you got to go walk up and look at each one to see which one is yours.
You got to put the big numbers like a race cars.
Yeah. Well,
see, this is,
I mentioned all this stuff. I talked to Zoox after I took my ride in January. I mentioned all these things. And so what they actually did was now they've put LED light strips in the front and back windows and on the inside of the car. And in the app, it lets you pick, you can pick a theme for what color you want. So it basically it's lit up with a color. So you can, in my case, it was orange. So when the car pulled up, that had the orange lights on it, that I knew that was my ride. And, so I got up and walked over to it. So
unless you're
that was
colorblind,
nice.
It's great.
Well,
always finding a way to make it a challenge, aren't you,
Well, it just
Robbie?
seems like it just seems like just slap a number, like a big
number, because that's
like
too
a
easy.
race car number
better.
on the sides of the car.
Or put a little panel with the person's name on it, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, a name is always like kind of weird because you have privacy issues.
That's
but
true.
if you just slapped a big like 12-inch by 12-inch sticker with a circle that said number 7, and they had in the front, the sides, the back, that's it. Yeah, you don't have to make it complicated, guys.
Yeah. But at least it's better than it was.
Yes.
And then other things that they added, they've added what they call Zoox cast capability. It's basically just it's Bluetooth. So they have at each of the 4 seats, they have a touch screen, and it lets you pick what style of music you wanted to listen to. And
did you pick No Doubt?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But you can tap the Zoox cast button on your phone, and basically it pairs your phone to the vehicle over Bluetooth, and then whatever you're listening to on your phone, you can just play it through the speakers in the car. So and it's very quick and easy. Works well. The ride was smoother than before. It was pretty good last time, but it was a little the braking control at low speeds when it was especially when it was maneuvering around the parking area or the garage was a little bit rough.
Herky-jerky?
A little herky-jerky at low speeds.
That's an awesome word.
On the road, it was fine. And so they clearly did some work on that, and it's definitely much smoother now. So if you're in Vegas and you feel like trying one of these out, you can just download the Zoox app. Just go in your app store on whatever device you're using, download the Zoox app, sign up. The rides right now are free in Las Vegas. They're not charging for them. So you can get around to a bunch of different places free of charge because, using ride hail or a taxi in Vegas can be pretty expensive. It's obviously not going to stay free forever.
You can take the monorail.
That's true. You can do that. But that's got even more limited places you can go.
It's still more than the Tesla tunnel.
That's true. And it's a lot smoother
just
than the
takes you
Tesla
across
tunnel.
this.
Yeah, it's also a lot smoother than the Tesla tunnel. I don't know how they managed to make the roadway in the Tesla tunnel so bumpy.
Is it bumpy?
Oh, it's very bumpy.
I don't know that I thought it was bumpy. I mean, I believe you. I mean,
it's just driving cars in a hole.
Yeah,
whole
technically,
cars. Yeah, just driving.
And
cars.
then the way they have it when they come up, they have to stop and wait for each other. And I'm like, it seems like someone could have figured out how to not have you have to stop. I'm like, you know what would have worked better? Light rail. That's what
Yes, it certainly would.
Like right down the middle of the strip, like it's just a light rail. And then it's like a party rail, like a party bus, but it's light rail. And everyone gets in. There's little cup holders for your giant yard of margarita. Come on, Las Vegas.
That would be perfect.
Because every time you walk, you're in Las Vegas, you're like, oh, I could walk to that casino. It's not that miles away. It's further than you think. You're going to die.
Well, and it's whatever distance it is, and you can multiply that by 3 or 4 from the actual as the bird flies distance, because Las Vegas is one of the least walkable cities in the world. So you end up meandering around trying to get from one place to another. Yeah, so it's really terrible to try and get anywhere on foot in Las Vegas.
They're not allowed to just pick you up along the street in taxis.
No,
either.
It's always
you have to go to a hotel. Which I did that once. I pulled a taxi. He's like, I'm not allowed to do this. I'm like, but I'm already in the car.
Yeah, I'm here already. Can we just go with it?
He's like, okay.
Yeah, we did that once. This year or last year. Taxi pulled up and same thing. We're not really supposed to do that, but he did it anyway, which wasn't good. Thank you.
Thank you, taxi person who did those things for us.
And they're doing early rider testing in San Francisco right now. They've also got vehicles running in Austin and Seattle and a couple of other cities. So they plan to launch in several more cities this year. The other company that is currently running driverless robotaxis in multiple cities. I think they've been in like 10 cities now, operating in 10 cities across the U.S., and they're testing in at least another dozen in the U.S. plus London, England, and Tokyo, Japan, is Waymo. And Waymo's been having some challenges of late. Apparently, following some major storms in the south in the last couple of months, they've had issues with Waymo robotaxis just driving right into flooded waters.
How does that even happen?
Austin,
I feel like that should be like really at the top of the list for things to make. Don't drive into danger.
Listen,
item number one.
If you're only programming your car for the peninsula in Northern California, and you're not really thinking about anywhere else in the world, it's pretty easy to just let your car drive into the water. That's
well,
Waymo is always testing... the age. They're like, well, the edge cases. I'm like, you should only be concerned about the edge cases, to be honest.
Right? Because that's the one where it's going to go horribly.
Yeah, the non-edge cases are the easy things. Focus on the edge cases.
Right?
But, apparently, I guess it's very difficult to actually detect how deep the water is when you're driving along.
Okay,
the
but
sensors can detect that, yes, there's water, but you don't know if it's a puddle or, or
it can't
a
even
foot and a
tell
half
if it's
of water.
a puddle?
Well, no,
it just doesn't.
It doesn't know. It has no idea how deep the water is.
Well, that seems fix that. I feel like that should be easier. Why is it so hard? Sam, engineering man, why is that so hard?
The sensors can't see through the water. I mean, they can't tell where the road is under the water.
So
couldn't you see the ripple of the water or something and be like, that is a large body of water.
As a human, if you've driven over this road, you have the context of like, oh, I know how, I have a good idea of how deep this water is. I understand context-wise, this is probably pretty deep, or it's not really that deep because you've driven this road before, or you can look around at the scenery.
And you drive in and you go like, hey, debris floating by me. This is bigger than a puddle. Okay.
Exactly. For robots don't have context. They have rules, but the context of a lived life is not available within a robot.
Stupid robots. So how would you overcome that? Like, what would be the solution to avoid that?
I think one of the things...
Don't drive through water.
Yeah. That makes these things a lot less useful. But I think, one of the things is, they have HD maps in these things, and, they should have topographical information as part of that map. So you should be able to tell where low spots are in the water. So, with the radar and the LiDAR, that's going to reflect off the top surface of the water. And if your map tells you that, okay, this road, the lowest part of this section of road is, at, let's say 600 feet above sea level, but I'm seeing this, the water is at 605 feet above sea level. Then it's like, oh, there's probably 5 feet of water there.
There's something
I don't want to go into
that. Yeah.
Okay. There's ways to do it, and they're working on this. But these are the kinds of things that like detecting school buses. They've had Waymo's had problems with this too. Tesla's had problems with it, but Waymo has been also struggling with this in recent months with driving past school buses or going fast through construction zones. Some of these these reports that we're seeing in the last couple of months really seem like they should be solved problems. They should be no-brainers, and yet they're still struggling with it after all these years. They've been doing this since 2009.
It's really it's really hard for a robot to figure all this out, and these cars still just get stuck on one road. There's always a video of 15 Waymos
that's the other one in
Zooxes
Atlanta,
where they just all went to one road, and they're all congregating, and they're all plotting to take over the universe, and then people shoot video of them.
Poor little cars.
Or you see them just circling around a cul-de-sac or a roundabout somewhere in Atlanta for hours for no reason.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah. On the plus side for Waymo, though, they did announce that they're finally ready to launch the Ojai, which is their Zeekr-built robotaxi. This is their little minivan. It's smaller It's smaller than like a Ford Transit Connect. It's a pretty cool looking little vehicle. But they've finished their testing and validation with that vehicle, and they're starting to do first rider trips with that in San Francisco, and they will be rolling that out to other markets over the next few months. So I know there's a bunch of these testing here in Detroit. They're driving around downtown Detroit, and they've got them in Denver and in Austin and a bunch of other cities. So they'll be rolling those out. But Waymo's been having some challenges.
Poor Waymo.
Yeah, not really. All this is very hard. You're still, beta testing on public roads, which makes me not. Yeah.
Makes you a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, why didn't they just put the front seat? The way they have these, so it's looking backwards, so you could talk to your friends. Because one person
that's
in the
what they
front
do in the
seat-
Zoox.
I know. Why don't they have this one front seat like turned around so you can talk to your friends?
You can have a little chat.
You don't need to be
Blah, blah,
looking
blah, blah.
forward. You're not driving the car.
For now, at least, the Zoox or the Waymo Ojai still has driver controls in it, so that if they need to, somebody can jump in and manually drive it. So that's probably why. At some point they eventually will make it carriage seating like the Zoox, but not yet. All right, Mitsubishi has said that they're working with Nissan to bring a pickup truck back to the U.S. market. It's gonna be based on the next generation of the Frontier.
All right.
Yay! Are we excited about this? So it's
I
going to
don't
be a
remember it
Mitsubishi
much.
pickup truck, a new Mitsubishi. Okay.
They're also bringing back the Pajero as an SUV, probably sharing the same platform, so it'll be a Mitsubishi badged version of the new Xterra, Nissan Xterra.
Okay. I mean, I think that's cool. I just don't know how many people like nothing
People
against
clamoring for a Mitsubishi
but
pickup. That's
that's
we go.
it. Like, who's clamoring for Mitsubishi stuff right now?
When we talked about like Subaru people, truck people are like, I drive Toyotas, I drive Chevys, I drive Fords, and this is even more so in like in small towns. I don't think people realize just
I
how
drive a Mitsubishi.
divisive like the Chevy versus Ford thing is.
There's
It's
real
a
war
big,
spot there.
big deal.
But I mean, Mitsubishi still sells pickup trucks in other parts of the world. They make pickup trucks and sell them in other parts of the world, but they haven't sold them here for probably 20 plus years.
Has it been that long? Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow.
I guess, I mean, they were never really that popular here. So I'm wondering, will anybody even care?
That's just it. I'm like, who's going to be excited?
I mean,
about
it would make more sense for Mazda to bring a truck back than it would for Mitsubishi, because those little, those B Mazda trucks, they sold really well in the 90s, and people remember them.
Maybe when Toyota finally launches their compact truck, maybe they'll have a Mazda branded version of it.
Maybe that's the moment.
Yeah.
The Mitsubishi Mighty Max, that was the 90s truck that Mitsubishi sold.
The Mighty Max? Is that really what it was called?
The Mighty Max, yeah.
Mighty Max.
Mighty
I'm not going to lie. I like that. Mighty Max.
The Honda Ridgeline is going to be taking a break, apparently. Apparently Honda is pausing production for about 18 months because the Ridgeline is really only sold in North America. It's only ever been built here. It's based on the same platform as the Odyssey and the Pilot and the Passport. And I guess they're going to pause production for a year and a half until 2028, when they can launch an updated one with their new hybrid system for larger vehicles.
I think the Rivian is literally just a Ridgeline. The Rivian, their R1T is just what the Ridgeline should have been. I remember when we got a Ridgeline and my wife got into it. She's like, "Oh, is this electric?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm all, "No." She's like, "Lame."
Done.
Because it felt like it should be electric truck. It just feels like, oh yeah, this could be electric. Yeah, this makes sense. But
Well,
I think
you
with
know, I mean, if Honda hadn't killed their EV program,
I know,
maybe they could have.
I know. Well, and 18 months to make this thing a hybrid seems like a long time. But all right,
It does, but
originally has a
for 2020.
Are we going to lose the little trunk in the bed if it's a hybrid?
oh,
That's an important
I bet
question.
we do. That was so cool.
No, I don't think they will. I
You
don't
don't
think they would
think?
put the battery back there for
All right.
safety reasons. I think they'll put the
Okay.
battery probably under the seat or something. But that would mean potentially losing the magic seat in the Ridgeline. But
something's got to
they'll
die.
probably put it up further up front.
All right.
So the Ford Bronco for 2026 is getting decontented. The Bronco Sport, I should say, the little Bronco, the baby Bronco.
The baby Bronco.
Yeah, it's getting decontented for 2026.
Boo.
They're lowering the price on all but the base trim level, which is actually strangely enough going up. But most of the other trims are going down. But they're getting rid of stuff like right now they have the 12.3-inch infotainment screen standard on most of the trims. That's going back to the older 8-inch screen. They're getting rid of the availability of a wireless charging pad for your phone. There's a few other things that are going away. If you want the larger, not the infotainment, but the instrument cluster display, which is currently 12.3-inch, that's going to a smaller 8-inch display. But yeah, they're getting rid of the wireless charging pad. There's a few other things that they're ditching, or making standalone options. So the base trim, the Big Bend, is going up in price by $850 for 2026. The Heritage goes down by $600. Outer Banks goes down by $1,350, and the Badlands goes down by $2,850.
But you get less stuff.
Yep.
I don't know if that's such a deal, Sam.
They're trying to deal with the affordability problem.
Yeah, which is a challenge. So they have, that's the only, if they still want to have a margin on it, they have to do something in there. So let's bring it down, but we got to take stuff out of there to make it work. I get it. It's just sad panda, It's a solid strategy. Blah, blah, blah.
So
blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch of politicians and domestic automakers that really
you could just stop right there. They're just
Chinese
a bunch
companies.
of politicians.
Yeah, they really don't want Chinese cars in the U.S. market, and so there's a bill in the House of Representatives right now. Bernie Moreno, who is a senator from Ohio, he's actually trying to just out and out ban any Chinese-built vehicles from the U.S. And before Moreno got elected to the Senate a couple of years ago, guess what he did? Guess what his line of work was? It's a car dealer.
Car lobbyist. Oh, a car dealer.
Yeah, even better than a lobbyist. He was a dealer.
So he's still a car dealer.
Yeah. So he's trying to ban Chinese cars altogether. But in the House, there's something called the Motor Vehicle Modernization Act of 2026, which would prohibit automakers that have any direct or indirect equity interest by a foreign adversary government, such as China, from importing, selling, or manufacturing vehicles for sale in the U.S. Volvo is Chinese owned. They are technically publicly traded, but Geely owns like 80+% of the shares. But Geely is not technically, at least that we know of, owned at all by the Chinese government. However, BAIC, Beijing Automotive Industries Corporation, is owned by the Chinese government. And BAIC owns about 10% of Mercedes-Benz.
Dun, dun, dun.
If this bill goes through unchanged, Mercedes could be barred from doing business in the United States.
which
That's
sounds crazy. Do you think that could actually
it's-
happen?
Uh,
Who knows?
right
It
now,
doesn't feel like it.
I
I would.
wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised.
Gosh, that would be crazy. I feel like they'll figure something out and that won't actually happen.
I hope so, but you never know. So if you're in the market for a Mercedes, you might want to get one sooner rather than
Speak
later.
now or forever hold your peace. Is that where we're getting to
feels
now?
like they're just. I mean, Alabama is going to lose its mind if they do this.
Yeah.
Because all the Mercedes SUVs are built in Tuscaloosa. They just had a big event there with other with politicians that showed up for whatever reason. I still don't understand why politicians
always show up everywhere.
I
That's just
know,
the way it is.
and they don't.
You go
they're
to a
not
factory, politicians are going to be there.
for reasons that don't make any sense because they had nothing to do with whatever's going on at this point because all this stuff happened like decades ago before they were decided they wanted to run for whatever they run for. So I don't know, man. That's a tough sell when you have again Alabama and you're like, ooh, hold on.
Hold
You're
on
talking-
one second.
Well,
You're
Mercedes
talking about thousands
Mercedes
upon
has-
thousands of people just absolutely losing their jobs.
Yeah. Well, they have 2 assembly plants in Alabama that employ more than 10,000 people.
It's a lot of people.
And they would have to shut them down.
Yep.
Unless BAIC sells their stake in Mercedes, or this bill is changed. To be fair, right now this is only in the House of Representatives. There is no Senate equivalent of this particular bill, so it might not go anywhere. But BAIC owns like 9.89% of Mercedes shares, and 9.6 or 9.7% of Mercedes shares are owned by an investment firm owned by Li Shufu, who is the CEO of Geely, or he's founder and chairman of Geely. So between them, the Chinese own about 20% of Mercedes Group.
Mm.
Yeah, money.
So,
Mercedes.
Yeah.
Buy the thing that makes money.
Yeah. And then of course, there's Volvo that I mentioned. Volvo is primarily owned by Geely, which is not, government owned, but, because they do a lot of collaborative engineering work with other Geely Group brands. There was concern because back in 2024, prior to the last election under the Biden administration, they issued some new regulations called securing the information and communications technology and services supply chain for connected vehicles. Basically, what that said is that for security reasons, vehicles sold in the U.S. could not use any software or connected vehicle hardware sourced from China. So they, I remember talking to somebody from Audi back, when this first came up, and he said, they by 2029, all this stuff has to be out of all vehicles sold in the U.S. And he was saying, they're having a hell of a time, going down through their entire supply chain and trying to source where every bit of code and every component comes from, to make sure that there's nothing coming from China related to connectivity or safety systems. And so Volvo is the first automaker to submit a request for compliance authorization, or authorization under this rule, showing saying that we don't have anything China sourced that fits under this rule, and they got their authorization this past week, so they can continue to build and sell cars in the U.S. They currently don't build that many of them, but they're
But they can.
But I mean, it also applies to the vehicles that they import from Europe. So they're the first ones to get authorization to do that.
Cool.
Very cool.
So for
I mean,
now, Volvo's
I
safe.
have stories from friends who've gone to China, and they clearly know that they're being like watched while they're there because
Oh,
they come
yeah.
over for the United States. Any, your whatever device you have, it's only as safe, it's only as secure as the least secure part or piece of code. That's just InfoSec 101. That said, if we had some really quality privacy laws in this country, this would be less of an issue. But
Yeah.
we can't do that because ad networks. We don't want to upset the ad networks. Can't make Facebook angry.
Well, I regularly get calls from reporters to comment on some of this security stuff with China because people like Moreno and others are saying we can't allow the Chinese in here because it would be a security threat because that you'd have Chinese cars driving around here with cameras that could be sending data back to China and it's like, excuse me, but pretty much 100% of new cars sold in the United States right now have cameras on them and have data connectivity. If the Chinese wanted to do this, if they wanted to spy on us using cars, which would be an extremely inefficient way of spying on the United States, by the way, but if they wanted to do that, they could just go and buy some Fords or GMs or Toyotas or Hondas, and tap into those cameras and get that data and send it back. They don't need to sell cars here to do that.
Also, they can just buy the data.
Yes,
can literally
true.
just GM got in trouble for selling data that wasn't clearly, the FTC and California both said you didn't really tell people that you were selling data like this in a way, but yeah, you can just buy, we got to watch out for China. I'm like, China can just buy the data just like everyone else
Just
does.
go to any of a dozen data brokers and they'll gladly sell you all the data you want.
Yeah, or just like, we can't let China get this data. I'm like, well, then we should have some privacy laws. Nah, let's not do that. Let's not fix the problem. Let's just let's do some performative legislation that'll fix this.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't. I mean, again, they could just like China. You can't sell anything with these things. Cool. So China just buys the data. Let's say a Volvo's going around and they could just buy the data from a data broker.
Yeah.
Womp womp. Legally, they could legally just buy the data.
So Ford ended production of the Escape and the Lincoln Corsair back in December at their Louisville assembly plant, so they could retool the factory to build their new universal electric vehicles. So Ford, the only vehicle Ford has in the compact crossover class now is the Bronco Sport,
which is just a better Escape. It's the same platform.
Yeah. But the Escape name may be coming back. Ford has said they're planning to build other vehicles off that same platform in addition to the $30,000 electric truck. And when we toured their EV development center, we saw some clay models, under Zoox, one of which looked, very much like an Escape-sized and shaped vehicle. So Ford authorities reporting that by 2029, the Escape name could be back on an EV crossover based on this platform, which I think that would be pretty good for Ford. If they can sell that, for low $30,000 price point, I think that could be a pretty competitive vehicle for them.
Definitely.
Well, a bonkers amount of cars. So
yeah. So, Nicole.
Yes.
Tell us about your visit to Virginia.
So I went to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety this week, the IIHS, with the folks at Mazda. And they let us go and see a moderate overlap front crash test for the Mazda CX-5. And we get up on this, you literally go and we walk the facility. We got to walk the long, so they call it a runway, but it's this long giant hallway where they rush the car down to its ultimate demise. We go down there and we see them all loaded up with sensors. We come back, we stand on this gantry that the car literally comes down the runway right underneath you, kablamo, goes into the barrier. And they took us to see this. This is like real testing. It's only one part of the testing. We don't know what the results are. And Mazda was very careful to say, don't speculate. We don't know. Like you look at it, we don't know anything. I don't know the first thing about what a good crash test versus a bad crash test really looks like. But what was neat to see it. And you know what? It was the amount of figuring stuff out and the data and the engineering that goes into this is insane. Like, we all know that vehicles are designed to be as safe as they can be. But when you see them do this and you see what they do and you see why they do it, it's really pretty impressive. So, we won't know how the CX-5 actually did. I think they said 5 or 6 weeks. It'll be sometime this summer because there's also more than one crash test. They crash a bunch of Mazda CX-5s to get all their results. This was just one result to give us an example of it. And there were some kind of neat things that I just didn't know. So, when you see all those videos, they're always like perfectly lit videos. They have these special lights that hang over the area where you do the crash test. They put out 75,000 watts when you turn them on. So literally the crash test countdown begins. The lights are not on yet. And they turn it on sort of right before the end so that when the car comes in, it's lit up at the right moment. Then it just stays lit for, it's 1 minute that it's lit up for. That's it. And they turn them off. And they are so intense that standing on that gantry, you suddenly feel like someone has lit a fire right in front of your face. You can feel the heat from this, which was crazy. And it was incredible to see it because the sound of it and the feel of it and seeing it crashed. And it was weirdly like a little overwhelming because you go down there, you see it, you hear it, you see what happened. They let us go down there once the guys check to make sure everything's okay for us to walk down there. They throw like kitty litter, what it looks like, for any of the fluids because they don't have gas in it anymore, but they put other fluids in it to mimic gas so they can see how that would leak out of the vehicle. And they make sure everything's safe. They get rid of the big bits and pieces of stuff. And then you can go down there and take pictures. And you're literally looking at this. And the thing is, you can see right inside. You see the crash test dummies and they paint them all. They paint them in very specific ways so that they can see what part of their face or arm or feet or whatever connected with which part of the vehicle. And you see them in there and you see the little face print of paint on the airbags and they're askew. They're still in their seats, but they're all kind of askew. And there's a moment where you think, oh my gosh, they're just going to make sure that when that's a person, like that's what happens to a person if they're in that vehicle and they hit something like that. And it was only a test at 40 miles an hour. It wasn't like some 85 mile an hour crash because they're trying to test where they're going to get the most data and the most ability to get automakers to see results that they can take action on. So, this is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. So all these insurance companies, and sure, it's great for them because if they make your vehicle safer, there's fewer payouts that an insurance company has to do. So it makes sense. But it also really does make things safer. And if they've said, okay, we're going to crash this car at 100 miles an hour, well, that makes it really, there's a point where you're making it so safe, but you also just turn that vehicle into a tank. So there's this engineering safety conversation that has to happen with everything. And it was just really kind of impressive to see it. Like when you see all the technology they have in the trunk and all the sensors and everything they're pulling. They also did a tour of the facility and they had, I think everyone's probably seen this video, it was a 1959, I forget what it was, a 1959 vehicle. I think it's a Chevy versus a 2009 Chevy. And they crash test them. And they have them in the lobby of the building. So you walk into the building and these two vehicles are literally on display there. And when you think about what crash tests have done, you look at how that looks, that old 1959 vehicle. And it wasn't a survivable thing for the person in the front seat. The seat has moved, the steering wheel, everything there's metal poking in. There's no space left for your feet, so you have horrible foot injuries. You look at the modern one and the door's off so you can see inside, but you feel like you could just sit right down there and be okay. And it's such a dramatic difference. And that's partly because of what the IIHS does. And they had another one where they showed, it was kind of by fluke that it happened to be Mazda, but because they have these permanent displays set up once you get further into the facility. They had a CX-5 that they put through one of the first side impacts when they first did that test where they ram a barrier at the side of the vehicles if you were T-boned, basically. They had a Ford and they had this Mazda. And the thing is, they work with the automakers throughout the process. They're not trying to stump them. They're not trying to fool them. They want to make cars safer. So sometimes what's coming, like they know a little bit what's coming down the line. They might not have every single detail about what the crash test is going to be, but they'll have an idea. They're looking at this, they're looking at that. This is what we're going to be testing on upcoming generations of your car. And so they had talked to automakers, and Mazda knew the side impact test was coming. So they started to take action to try to make their vehicle safer. Like, even not knowing all the details of how this test is going to be, let's do it. And this is, years ago. So they have the Mazda they tested because it was coming out and it was going to be new. And you can see that the B pillar squishes a little bit. Like, there's a little, but it basically keeps the passenger compartment in one piece. It's you don't look at it and think, well, that's going to be a bad accident. But then they had a Ford, and like they said, it wasn't that the Ford was built terribly. This is something all the automakers were doing at the time. And they hadn't, it was probably just about to be redone. And when you look at it, the B pillar hasn't just squished inward. The entire frame has come off the chassis. So you see like the bottom, and it's like all the colored metal has squished inside to the car and is now one with the passenger compartment. And you see these very dramatic differences between this is what we've encouraged automakers to do by showing them areas where people are getting hurt significantly and frequently versus what they were doing before. And it's not a matter, like they said, if they have bad cars and we're trying to make them have good cars. It's you can always make things safer. So if we can figure out ways to look at the things that cause the most number of injuries and find a way to make those injuries less frequent and target the highest injury kinds of accidents, you can keep people from having debilitating injuries for their whole life and keep people from getting killed in cars. So it was a pretty amazing thing to see. It was something that's always been on my bucket list. Like, I really want to see them crash test a car. I've never been so excited for a drive program. I was so like, you want me to drive a Ferrari? No. I want to see them crash test a car. I was so excited to see this. And it was really impressive, and seeing all of their displays and seeing how much cars have changed, even modern cars. Like, it didn't take that 1959 Chevy to prove this makes a difference. You're looking at modern cars and seeing we weren't doing something here, now we are. And they keep talking about how they're constantly changing it to make it a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And it's all about keeping people safe. So it was impressive. It was one of the coolest things that I've gotten to see in this job ever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did IIHS, are they the ones that did the Toyota Corolla test a few years ago where they showed like an early 2000s and then a modern Toyota Corolla?
I feel like they did. They've done a couple where they've done, they've done
where you just like suddenly you're like, oh yeah, it's 2000s Corolla, and then you see the difference. You're like, oh wow.
Well, yeah, like
that's a huge jump. Just
exactly. Well, like the side impact test, it's not like this was a test they conducted. These are modern vehicles, and things that you would think, oh, like it's an older car. I still have it. I'm driving around in it. But that's what your older car does. I think that the good thing, bad thing, that coming away from it, you think, oh man, if I'm driving a car that's older, you're giving up a lot of safety. Like, I'm not knocking on older cars, but there's something to be said for. So when I got rid of my Charger, when I first went to upgrade it, part of it was I kept looking at things and I'm thinking, I don't have any of this safety stuff. And that did pretty well in crash tests. But you think about, they keep engineering things, each iteration, each all new version of whatever your vehicle is. They take things like what the IIHS has come up with in crash tests. And like Jennifer Morrison, their safety person for Mazda, I forgot her exact title. But she was saying, I said, how's it feel when you don't get greens? Because there's like a colored boxes. Green is good. Then there's yellow and there's red. Red is bad. And she said, we get reds when things are new, and you get reds. And she said, we don't want to see a red. She's like, you kind of feel that like, oh, we got a red. She said, and initially you're hurt and you're upset and you're like, oh gosh, darn it, why we get a red. But she said, then you look at it and you go, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to make it a green. There are things out there right now that have reds in different categories. And behind the scenes, every automaker has engineers going, crud, how do we get that to a green? And it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge because nobody wants to put people in unsafe cars. Nobody wants to have horrible injuries in their cars. So the stuff that they do really helps our vehicles be safer. And it is a tool for automakers, even when they don't do well. And even when it challenges them, like some of this overlap stuff is really hard for them because it takes instead of the force going the whole front of the vehicle, it goes into half the vehicle or even a smaller portion of the vehicle. You got to take a lot of force and put it in a really narrow area and protect. I guess the big thing in those impacts is the lower extremity injuries because it gets squished And there's things where like the tires used to kind of go right into the passenger compartment. They showed a Ford Explorer and a Grand Wagoneer, and you can literally see in the crashed example how one did really well and one didn't. The Wagoneer did great. And you can see where the shock is, the absorber that would be with a tire. There's no longer a tire. And it's like slightly off skewed. It's not perfect. And you look at the Ford Explorer and the thing is pointing at the passenger compartment. So if the wheel was on the end of that wheel is things like that. Like, how do you make that one little thing not do what it does when you hit it? Okay, let's make a little engineering change so it pushes a different direction and doesn't smash into people. So it was really fascinating to watch all this and to hear how even a bad test is a good test because it gives them a way to learn.
Yeah, I've witnessed a few crash tests over the years. Most recently, went to Honda's R&D center in Ohio, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and we saw them do the small offset rigid barrier test with a Civic. And that is one of the most severe tests because it's a 25% overlap. Yeah. So it's the kind of crash. It's one of the more common crashes that you can have on the road, multi-vehicle crash, because it's the kind of thing that if a car starts drifting over the center line of the road, you're not going to get typically a full straight head-on crash.
Right.
It's going to be partial overlap, and that's when they first started doing that about 10, 12 years ago, pretty much everybody failed.
Right.
That test. And, as everybody started re-engineering their vehicles to perform better in that test, now when Honda did that test with the Civic, this is a, 40 mile an hour crash with a 25% overlap into a rigid barrier. And we walked out and the driver's side door could still open and close.
They talked about that.
Amazing.
They said, like, when you see these car crashes, like the goal is that your car might look like it's done, but that you open your door and you get out.
Yeah.
And they were even talking about, even say you're in an accident where for some reason you can't get out, right? Like you just physically are unable to, you've been hurt. Even somebody asked them, well, how hard is it to get people out? They said all of this even makes it easier for first responders because instead of them having to work to pry open metal that will no longer open, break A pillars, break B pillars, do what they have to do, very often first responders can just walk up and open the door.
Yeah.
So it makes it
easier. You don't have to use the jaws of life.
Right. You just walk up, open the door, and take the person out. So you don't have to suddenly I can't help you. Give me a minute. It's just like, no, walk up, open the door. So even if you're still injured and need help gets to you faster, which is something I hadn't really even thought of. So it's
that
incredible.
Can make a huge difference, if there's any injury.
Huge difference. If you're trapped in your car and they can't get to you, which also, when you think about it as a first responder, if you're just thinking I'm stuck and I can't help this guy because I can't get to him, what a horrible thing. If they can get you out and get to you, they can immediately treat you, they can help you, they can stabilize you, they can get you whatever kind of medical care you need immediately rather than waiting minutes, which matter if you're in a car accident. That really matters. So it was an interesting thing to see. And I just think I wish everybody could have a chance to see what one of these crash tests is like, honestly. And I know that's not realistic and that's not how it works. But to see it, when it crashed, Sam, you've seen it, you feel it in your chest, boom. It reminded me on a smaller scale, many, many years ago, I saw the space shuttle take off, and it was the first time I ever heard a sonic boom. And you feel it just whoosh right up through your body. And when this car hit the barrier, you get that same sense of bam, you feel it in your soul. And it does have that. You're thinking, God, this is so important because those are just dummies with paint on their faces. But what if that was people hitting like that? That is, hopefully none of us get to know what a crash is like in the real life, but it happens. And to think that what they're doing in this building, this beautiful pastoral landscape in Virginia, inside these really violent crash tests are happening to keep all of us safe. It's cool. I think safety is, it impressed me, the efforts that they're going to and how important it is to truly look at that crash test data, and that it's a great tool, a fantastic tool for you buying a car, but also for automakers to say, guys, we can do better. We can do better. We can just keep improving. We can do better.
Yeah, I added putting a link to the crash test that IIHS did with a 1959 Chevy Bel Air versus a 2009 Malibu.
It is It is just unbelievable. And when you watch it, they had it playing too. Like you see in the modern car, you crash and airbag and everything's relatively happy. And you see the other one, like they showed one. This is the other one they were talking about. They had one of the things with the side impact thing that they realized, and they have the vehicle there, side impact where it did poorly, and then a great big SUV. SUVs have really changed the story because they thought initially that the dummy's head went out the window, and they're like, no, it intruded so far that it intrudes to the point that when it hits, it bends your neck and your head tapped the hood. And there's a dent in the hood of this SUV from the head of the dummy going ka-thunk and hitting it. And when you think about that, like, can you imagine? And now they're like, well, we got to stop this. We got to find a way to stop this. And they find a way to like address something. And they said, even what they do today as cars change, like SUVs becoming all the rage, that posed whole new challenges because when an SUV hits an SUV, it's one thing. When an SUV hits a car, entirely different deal. So it's an ever evolving thing. There's never a point where they could say, we got it. They never have got it. They're always able to improve things and react better and make it safer. It's just really cool stuff. Like, go safety engineers. It was amazing. It was really amazing.
Awesome. All right. We've got some listener questions. Let's start off with Ken. I listen to your podcast every week and look forward to learning the latest. Last week, Nicole touched on the challenge of charging at a Tesla charging station with its very short cable. Robbie has talked about traveling distances down the coast of California in his Ioniq 5. How does he plug in at these stations? Are you aware of any approved extension cable that can be used for these situations? It only needs to be about 3 feet. So, Robbie, go.
So when I was doing my traveling, I was with my NACS, my CCS 2024 Ioniq 5. So I didn't stop at any Tesla charging stations when I did. I stopped at Electrify America stations.
Well, because you were getting free charging, so.
Yeah, I was getting free charging. So like all these trips down south, up and down the coast, up and down the state, they were free because I had free charging. That goes away like, I don't know. We turned the car back in on Friday, so it's gone now. So the salad days of free charging, I think, are over, to be honest.
Most automakers are getting away from that now.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I was using CCS charger. So we do have the NACS, the 2026 NACS enabled or NACS outfitted Ioniq 5. So I guess I'll give you all a heads up when we do some traveling with it.
So I actually did see a video. I think it was last week from Tom Malogny, who does the State of Charge YouTube channel, and he tests a lot of chargers and charging equipment, adapters, and things like that. And he actually just did a test. He's actually done 3 separate tests now with a supercharger extension cable from a company called Hanshow. Basically, looking around, there's a few other channels, that have also tested this same extension cable. I think right now, Ken, I would probably recommend not getting an extension cable. Tom had quite a few issues with this unit from Hanshow. Previously, he had tested prototype cables that they sent him, and those had some issues with not cutting off the power flow when you press the button to disconnect it. So you could conceivably unplug it while the power is still flowing, and then get a pretty substantial arc, electrical arc, which would be bad. They fixed that. Hanshow fixed that. So
they fixed you might get shocked and died part.
Yeah. So as soon as you go to press the button, it immediately cuts off the power flow. So that's good. But he tested it. He tested the cable with both his Rivian R1T and his F-150 Lightning at a supercharger station, and tried a couple of different chargers. In each case, the charger. It would stop charging after about 7 or 8 minutes, and it would not continue. And he sent back. He contacted the manufacturer He's sending that cable back. They're going to send him another one, take a look at it, send him another one. Tom was speculating that perhaps it was getting too hot. And
that
it was
makes
generating
sense.
too much heat, and then the charger was disconnecting, or was just shutting off the power flow.
Yeah.
So right now there is not an extension cable that I would recommend. You might want to wait a little bit longer before you try purchasing one. I'm sure at some point somebody will come out with a good one, but right now they don't seem to exist.
Yeah. Womp womp.
Boo.
Here's another one targeted at Robbie from Martin. This message is for Robbie, since you own one. My name is Martin, and I live in Salinas, California. I'm interested in possibly purchasing a used Ioniq 5. And according to Consumer Reports, it tested very well, but was not recommended because of reliability issues. Have you had any problems with yours? Thank you for any information you can give me. Enjoy listening to the show.
We didn't have any. The last few weeks we had the car. The regen started making a weird noise. It was louder than it should be. I took it to the dealer didn't have a spot for it to get looked at in the service center. I talked to the person at the dealership. I'm like, hey, before it didn't have time to fix it before the car had to be turned in for the lease. So I talked to the guy, and he's like, yeah, that's just the warranty issue. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we gave the car back. Other than that, we didn't have any issues. I know that, Consumer Reports, they base their reliability issues on the lifetime of an automaker. So it's not just Ioniq 5. I mean, Hyundai's had some engine issues over the years. And so as Hyundai has gotten better, they still have long-term, if you look at the long-term, you see reliability issues. So on one hand, you're like, well, is it really about this car, or is it about the long-term of this automaker? So you kind of have to look at that. I mean, I like the car enough to buy a new one. That's, and we were going to buy a used one. It's just the new one, the pricing, and the everything seemed to work out for us pricing wise. So, whenever, if you're concerned about reliability, I mean, I can understand that. Again, Hyundai has had that long-term issue with their gas engines. This is, but yeah, I mean, other than that sound, which didn't change the way the car drove at all. No issues. But within the EVs, it's usually less issues with the sort of the actual powertrain and more with all the other bits, because they add all these extra, whiz bang features. Those are sort of the things that end up going a little, haywire. I do know someone who also has an Ioniq 5. Some rats got into the insulation and chewed through some wires. So,
oh gosh!
But that's not an EV unique problem.
That's not an EV problem. That's a rat problem.
That happened on my 1990 Miata.
Yeah, so you can get a peppermint spray that you can spray your car with and around your area of your house, and so now your car smells like a peppermint patty, and so you got that going for us. Yeah, so yeah, I think I understand why Consumer Reports has that reliability issue. It is a long-term sort of Hyundai issue. My personal issue, I didn't have any problems. I do know people who had the 12-volt battery problem, especially at the beginning, where Hyundai wasn't quite sure what was going on, so people felt like they were getting scammed.
Yeah,
that's been sort of, I don't know if resolved is the thing. I think they've changed things, and they're more they're more likely to help you figure out the issue, because it's become a far bigger issue than they had originally anticipated. So, but other EVs have had that issue as well. So, yeah, somehow charging a 12-volt battery is really tough.
Certain Jeeps have had that problem, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So I like the car. Again, I liked it enough that we bought a new one. We were going to buy a used one, and I like.
Yeah, I think the main issue with all the eGMP cars, so the Ioniq 5 and 6 and the 9, the Kia EV6 and EV9, in terms of reliability, the biggest issue is the integrated charge control unit, which is what, it handles charging the high voltage battery, but also the 12-volt battery. That, they were having, that's the one that Robbie was talking about, that had some issues, it would fail. There was a fuse in there that would blow, and then it would not be able to charge the 12-volt battery. They have made changes to the design of that. Again, it's covered under warranty, and Hyundai's got a recall on it. So if you have an issue, they will fix it free of charge. And they've also extended the warranty on that component to 10 years, 180,000 miles. Initially when they first did the recall, they did not have enough of the parts, and so a lot of customers were waiting quite a long time to get theirs fixed. We actually had the ICCU fail on our EV6 in December or November. It was fixed in a day and a half. They just had to order the part from the warehouse. And like day and a half after we took it in, we had it back. And again, fixed. There was no cost, no charge to fix it. So, I think that's probably the only major issue that you're likely to encounter with this whole family of vehicles. And other than that, we love the car. We love the EV6.
Yeah, I had a friend who I told him about the Ioniq 5. They bought it and they had this issue, and they were one of the first people to have it. So it ended up being sort of a gauntlet of trying to figure out what was going on, and it sort of turned them off from Hyundai, which I understand. I get it. You if you're the first person that has this issue, that's sort of like I'm the first person to buy a car. Let's just sort of jump back to the Slate. I put my $50 deposit in at the event within minutes. So does that mean do I really want the first Slates built, or do I want to wait 5,000 Slates in, 10,000 Slates in? Do I want one of the first ones?
How many Slates would you need to wait in to feel comfortable? Pick a number. You would have to have X Slates.
I don't know. So they got 100,000 that night or something goofy. If my Slate comes in, I'm more than happy to wait until April as opposed to getting one in December.
So you get to keep driving the Burrs for a while.
December Slate.
Yeah, I kind of do I want the December Slate? Do I want to be the guinea pig? But also then I get to have content. That's the other thing.
It's kind of also like being the first person to buy an electric Jeep Wagoneer S.
Shush you.
Yeah.
Risks were taken.
Hey, no, I mean, and that's always the challenge when you buy something that is brand new.
The Ford BZ4X, the Toyota. Tire issue.
Toyota.
The BRZ, the BRZ GR86, the issue with the oil pan, the gasket. They're using instead of using a gasket, it was some sort of goo, and it was coming apart and getting sucked up into the engines and destroying engines. The Toyota Tacoma issue, the Tacoma or not, was it Tacoma or the Tundra? The Tacoma, it's not just EVs. It's all the very first of any car.
Yeah, well, the Tundra, they've recalled something like 250,000 of the current generation Tundra now to replace the turbocharged V6 engines because of foreign material in there.
So right now, to go back to Martin, maybe don't buy year one of the car. Get it 2025. Get it 2024.
I had someone an OEM say to me years ago, never buy a new car the first model year.
I know it, but I really want the Slate.
I know. You're talking to the woman who bought a Wagoneer S in the first months it was out. I hear you.
So, yeah. I think,
But we take these risks so you don't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all
jump
for
right
you,
in.
dear
Feet
listeners.
First. You're here we go.
Let's see what happens.
Finally, we got Mark. Thanks for sharing my tongue-in-cheek email about refueling my car about a month ago. Like I said, you do you if it makes you happy and you're not hurting anyone. I was wondering last night how many people in general and how you three in particular cruise for fun. I remember back in the day, I'm 64 now, collecting gas money from friends and going for a cruise with no predetermined destination. I still do that now, cruising to basically get lost for a couple of hours, then turning on my GPS to get home, choosing the no expressway option so I'm taking more back roads on my return home. I've mentioned before my cruiser now is a 2013 Mercedes SL63 AMG, as I've always loved convertibles with the sun in my face and the wind in my remaining hair. Oh, I know that part. I know Sam enjoys his Miata, which is a super fun car to drive. I drove one myself, and the driving experience was exhilarating. As you've said on the podcast, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. Not that the Miata is a slow car. Actually, it is kind of slow.
It's kind of slow, but it's fine.
But that wasn't
it's
what
not
I was
It's
implying.
not Del Sol slow.
Yeah.
Which I had a Del Sol for years, and I still was like, I'm fine with this.
God, I knew
So
somebody who had one
I'm
of
curious
those.
how
Wow.
Sam enjoys his Miata and what cars Nicole and Robbie drive for pleasure. Thanks for the informative and entertaining podcast.
Oh,
My
you go first.
BRZ. I drive my BRZ, and that's so I'm from a small town, which I probably mentioned in too many times, and the town had a lot of windy roads and a lot of off-road, a lot of dirt roads, and so it was a great town to sort of learn how to drive, and that was what I did to get out of the house was I just went driving. And so now, if I'm just sitting around and I love I do this too, where you go somewhere and you turn off the, you set your, for me, it's Google Maps or Apple Maps. And I tell it, okay, I want to go home, but not on the freeway. And so then I find all these weird roads and sometimes I'm like, well, which way is this? Well, I've never been on this road. And so I will drive around, with my BRZ. I'll do it with the Ioniq 5. Too as well. And again, I'm gonna go back to the Slate. I can take the doors off, which you can do it. To be honest, you could do that on any car. Nothing's stopping you from not taking the doors off.
Just take the doors off. You see what happens.
You can just take the doors off. Every time, like the Wrangler and Bronco people are like, "Oh, you can take the doors off." I'm like, I could take the doors off.
Anybody could. Nothing's stopping
a
the rest of
Cavalier
us.
if I wanted.
Slightly more complicated than a Wrangler.
Take those doors
just take
right
the doors off. There's nothing stopping me. But yeah, and I do miss having a convertible. I really want an EV convertible, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, and I don't want a Hummer.
Well, when you take the bulkhead out of your Slate, you'll be partially open air.
Yeah, and I can take the doors off. That's one of the things. So I take the doors off.
Slightly open air.
They're just like, yeah, do whatever. We don't care. Knock yourself out. I take the bulkhead. I take the doors off. I get like a little system for my dogs so they, they're not sliding around, little leashes for them so they can hang out. And the little one will want to sit in the passenger seat and the big one likes to hang out in the back. And I just drive around.
I think for me, it's not one car. I mean, because we'll take Russ's car out and we'll, when it's nice and doors off, windows off, top down, all that kind of stuff.
Do you ever put the windshield down?
Never, because I don't want bugs in my teeth. Like that's a thing. But when I just want to go out for a drive, it doesn't matter what car I have, especially if it's nice. I roll the windows down and I always open the sunroof so my hair gets all messed up and I just let the wind blow everywhere. But I drive and I have this thing because where I live, I know the area really well. I've lived here forever, but I'll go out and I'll take a left and I'll drive for a bit. And then at some point I just randomly turn at an intersection in a way that I don't normally go. And then I turn again and then I turn. I keep turning in a direction that I've never been. And I find myself in the middle of nowhere in, southern New Hampshire, which has some pretty rural roads. And it's always beautiful. Like, there's always farms and maple sugar shacks and random places that I've never been in, towns that I've lived, and explored my whole life. So I'm a big drive to a certain spot, then even get off the highway and then just start randomly turning. Do I know where this road goes? Yes. Do I know where the other direction goes? Never been that way. Let's find out. And I just meander. I'm a big meander. In fact, when the girls are home, we'll go out and we'll chat and I just have them pick a direction at every intersection, left or right, left or right, left or right. And they decide which way we go and we'll find all sorts of interesting stuff. So that's my just kind of chilling out and enjoying and doing my drive thing. That's exactly what I do.
And sometimes when I'm doing this, just sort of, I'll find a spot. I'm like, oh, I can come here and take photos, or I can come here and shoot video. So it's kind of work related, but really I'm just cruising around, looking around.
Yeah, same thing for me. I just hop in the Miata, or if I've got something interesting that I'm driving that week, I might take that out and just go out and head out somewhere out of town and just drive around for a couple of hours. Just hit some random roads, and try to avoid dirt roads with the Miata. But other than that, just driving around, just have some music playing and just enjoy the weather. And sometimes I'll take one of the dogs with me. Our current two aren't as fond of going for drives as our previous dogs were. Rosie, our first corgi, she loved going for drives in the Miata because she was just tall enough that she could sit up on the passenger seat and look out through the windshield. And the others we've had since then are a little bit smaller than her. So, but they still like going for drives, and just drive nowhere in particular for a couple of hours.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, when you have to drive cars for a living, like I had the Aston Martin Vantage, I was like, I looked at the map around the area, and I was trying to go to this one road, and I couldn't remember exactly where it was. And so I was like, well, this looks close enough. And I just dropped a pin and then went to a completely different road. It wasn't the same place, but I was like, well, I've never been here before. And there's like crazy, bridges that I got to drive over, and people are fishing, and there's I think when people think Northern California, San Francisco, they think it's like just city. There's actually a ton of green space up here. We're all about hiking and stuff. So like you go 5 minutes from anywhere and you can be in the middle of the woods if you want.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, same thing here. You drive 15 minutes. Like basically if you go, I live just to the east of Ann Arbor, and if you head north and northwest from Ann Arbor, it's full of forested areas and trees and lakes and rural roads. To the south is more farmland, but to the north, lakes everywhere. And I mean the roads aren't necessarily great, but it's just a beautiful area. So I enjoy doing that.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.